Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is 50 Years in Film, 2017. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Let me know how you feel about this series, how you feel about these films in general, and any comments at all, positive or negative, are always welcome. Now, before we begin, we're going to start off with the normal caveats. These are not all of the films from 2017. Far from it. These are simply the films that I own in my collection. And this is not a ranking video of any kind. This is simply, again, just a recap of some of the films that came out theatrically in 2017. And also, before we begin, I do have some housekeeping to do. I forgot a movie from 2016. I brought the wrong movie to 2016, and I forgot one from 2010. So we're just going to jam through those right away. The first one from 2010 that I did not include on the original video is Buried, starring Ryan Reynolds and directed by Rodriguez Cortez. This is a claustrophobic, and I mean that in every sense of the word, thriller. This man is buried alive, and from that moment on, this is a one-man show. Ryan Reynolds gives one of his best performances in this movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. So from 2010, Buried. Then on that video from 2016, I meant to put this down, Finding Dory, but I accidentally grabbed Finding Nemo. So I wanted to bring a little bit of love to Finding Dory because, again, it was released in 2016, and it is a classic. Great movie from Pixar. So 2016, Finding Dory. And this one I forgot, probably because I was trying to put it out of my mind subconsciously, but from 2016, the fifth and final film in the Phantasm franchise, Ravager. This is the only one of the 5 films that is not directed by Don Coscarelli, and it shows. This movie's horrible. It is almost unwatchable. Actually, I would go so far as to say it is unwatchable. Horrible, horrible movie. Okay. Now we're going to go into 2017 proper like we always do. We're going to jump around in genre. However, we are going to start off with The Elephant in the Room. And I mean that in every sense of the word this year because Star Wars The Last Jedi is and was without a doubt the most divisive film in the franchise, in my opinion. People either love this movie or they hate it. I am one of the ones in the minority. I actually love this movie. I think that it's totally, yeah, you could say that it veers completely off the rails as far as the motivations that Luke Skywalker has. But you know what? I like this movie because it's not predictable. It wasn't by the numbers like the previous installment in this series, The Force Awakens. Like I said in that video, that movie feels like a beat-for-beat remake of A New Hope. This one does not feel like a remake of Empire Strikes Back or any of the other Star Wars films. And for that, I love this film. Unfortunately, what came after this is garbage. And anybody who complains that The Last Jedi is horrible compared to everything else in that series is deluding themselves. Because again, compared to the last Skywalker, ugh. Enough said. Now we're going to go into animation. The first one on the list, Cars 3. An improvement from Cars 2. Not as good as Cars 1. Pretty average movie, in my opinion. Then we have Despicable Me 3. Starring Steve Carell, again, as Gru. And this time, Trey Parker from South Park fame is the villain. Again, cute movie, not as good as the original installments. Then we have The Boss Baby, starring the voice of Alec Baldwin. I have not seen this movie, but I bought this for my grandson. When it came out, he was about 6 at the time, and he's 11 now, and he still loves this movie. So, Bryson says Boss Baby is a good movie. I'll take his word for it. And the last animated film on our list, the Lego Batman movie. Starring Will Arnett as the voice of Batman, and Zach Galifianakis as the voice of the Joker. I really, really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think it's one of the better Batman movies, actually. It's a lot of fun. And then we have Beauty and the Beast, the remake of the original Disney animated classic, starring Dan Stevens, Emily Watson, and Luke Evans. That's what I thought. I've never seen this movie. I'm not a huge fan of the original animated film. I know that's blasphemy to a lot of people. I bought this for my wife, and her and my mom watched this when it first came out, and they both enjoyed it. So now we're moving into drama. And the first one on the list, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, starring Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, and in her Academy Award-winning performance for Best Actress, Frances McDormand. Written and directed by Martin McDonagh. This is a great movie, filled with great performances. I don't like this movie as much as In Bruges, but it's a totally different animal than that movie. However, I do prefer it to Seven Psychopaths. Frances McDormand is incredible in this movie, as is Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson and everyone else. If you've never seen this movie, check it out. It's very good. Then we've got a couple of military dramas for you. The first one, and they're both based on true events. The first one is called Megan Levy, starring Kate Mara. This is a recent addition to my collection because my wife saw this on Netflix and said it was a very good movie, and I still have not watched it. But it is a true story based on this servicewoman and her service animal in, I believe, Iraq, but I'm not sure, or Afghanistan, one of the two. But apparently, this is a very, very good movie. But I have seen this one, and this one is also based on true events. Dunkirk, directed by Christopher Nolan, and starring Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, Mark Rylance. This movie is incredible. I had no idea about the events of Dunkirk in history. I am a history buff, and I love history about World War II. Had no idea about this event until I saw this movie. And as usual, Christopher Nolan knocks it out of the park. This is a great, great film filled with great performances, and I think it has one of the most underrated musical scores ever. It's very slight. It's in the background. You don't even notice it's there, but it adds to the tension so much. I really, really love Dunkirk. I think it's a great film. Okay, now we're going into the superhero genre, and we got quite a few from that. And the first one, Justice League. It says directed by Zack Snyder, but that's bullshit. This one's directed by Joss Whedon. And this movie sucks. There are a couple of moments in this movie that I like, but it was extremely, extremely underwhelming to say the least. About 4 years later, we would get the actual Zack Snyder's version of this film, and I do have problems with that film as well. However, it is miles and miles ahead of this one. This was probably the most disappointing superhero film of that year, without a doubt. But this one was a breath of fresh air. Wonder Woman. Directed by Patty Jenkins and starring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, and Robin Wright. I'll be honest, I did not see this theatrically because I had no interest in it. I just thought, Wonder Woman, whatever. I used to watch the TV show when I was a kid because, quite frankly, I was in love with Linda Carter. So I saw this one on video, and my God, this is a great, great film. This is one of the better films in that DC universe, if not the best one. It's just a great film. Now we've got some Marvel properties. The first one, Spider-Man, Homecoming. This was the first Spider-Man film featuring Tom Holland. Also has Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, of course, and Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Fun movie. This movie's a lot of fun. Then we've got Thor, Ragnarok, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Cate Blanchett. This movie, directed by Taika Waititi. Without a doubt, this is one of the most fun Marvel movies in the entire MCU, and it's my favorite Thor movie. This movie is just fun. Outside of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, this one is basically the most comedic in tone. It's just a lot of fun. It turned a lot of people off, but again, I love this movie. I think it's great. And then we've got Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Written and directed by James Gunn. Starring the cast from the original film, but adding Kurt Russell and Michael Rooker gets a special shout out in this one as Yondu. Out of the 3 Guardians movies, this one surprised me the most. I saw this movie in 2017 as a 40-year-old man. Or I'm sorry, I'm dating myself, as a 50-year-old man. And this movie broke me at the end. It immediately made me think of my late father. Because this movie it's about fathers and sons. And Michael Rooker, his little scene at the end, it's bringing tears to my eyes just thinking about it. It's a great, great performance. And this is a great movie. But not as great as this one. Logan. Directed by James Mangold. And starring Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and this incredible little girl who, one of these days, I am going to look up her name. And when I do my rankings of the year, I will have her name, because this movie will definitely be in the top 10 from this year. Logan, as I said in the X-Men ranking video that I did the other day, is my favorite film in that entire franchise. It's a perfect superhero film in my eyes. It and The Dark Knight are probably my 2 favorite superhero films of all time. This movie plays like a Western, and for the first time we got to see Logan in his full-out glory of blood and guts, because from the very first X-Men movie, that was my main bitch about the character. Having that PG-13 rating. When I read the comics back in the day, I had pictured what this guy would do to people with those claws. And in this movie, we finally get it. And my God, this movie's great. Not to mention, I think Patrick Stewart should have been nominated for an Oscar for this movie. His performance is heartbreaking as Professor X. Again, I cannot sing the praises enough of this incredible, incredible film. Okay, now we're moving to action. Here's one that you probably have never heard of. 68 Kill, starring Matthew Gray Gubler, who was the geeky profiler on Criminal Minds for years. That's the only thing I ever saw this kid in until this movie. Directed by Trent Haga. Let me just say right now, this is one of the most entertaining movies from that year. And it's one that, like I said, you've never heard of. Look into this movie. This is one of those hidden treasures that is just so much fun. Check it out if you can. I don't want to go into the plot because it'll spoil it, but this movie is great. But this one is incredible. Baby Driver. Written and directed by Edgar Wright. And before I flip it, because I am going to Ansel Elgort, that's it. I knew it was some goofy, whatever. Jamie Foxx, Lily James, Kevin Spacey, John Hamm. This movie rocks. And I mean that literally. This is a musical without singing. And it is an incredible, incredible technical achievement. And it's just a great movie. This movie is just fun on every level. Love it, love it, love it. Then we've got American Assassin, starring Dylan O'Brien, Michael Keaton, Taylor Kitsch. This was supposed to be the first of a series of films. This is based on a series of novels. And it's a solid action film, okay? This is not going to win any awards or anything like that. But I really enjoyed this movie. I included this on one of my 500 rated films to check out. And I stand by it. It's a really entertaining movie. And Michael Keaton is fantastic in this movie. So if you've never seen American Assassin, check it out. Then we've got Kingsman, The Golden Circle, starring Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, and adding to the mix, Jeff Bridges, Channing Tatum, and Elton John. Oh, and Julianne Moore. I'm sorry, Julianne Moore is the main baddie. Written and directed by Matthew Vaughn. Huge, huge, huge letdown after the first one. The first one I didn't see coming. It came out of nowhere. It was a breath of fresh air, and I absolutely loved it. This one, maybe it was my own expectations, but because that first film was so great, I really had hoped that this one would match it, and it doesn't come close. This is not a bad movie. I actually enjoy this movie. But again, it's nowhere near as great as that first one. And then we've got John Wick 2. The sequel to the original, of course. Starring our man, Keanu Reeves, Common, Ian McShane, and John Leguizamo. This movie rocks. It took everything that the first movie had and it expanded it. And this movie's great. I really can't rank these movies because they're constantly changing places. For a long time, this one was my favorite of the four. But again, I don't have a problem with any of them. I think all four of them are just fantastic, fantastic action films. Okay, and then we're slowly starting to go into sci-fi or action with Kong Skull Island, starring Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly, and Samuel L. Jackson. This is a Vietnam movie where the Vietnam is King Kong, period. And it's a lot of fun. Out of the MonsterVerse movies, this one's probably my favorite. Although when the new one comes out on video, which I have seen it, I did a review theatrically on the new Empire recently. When that one comes out, I am going to watch all of these movies again and do a ranking system. But as of right now, this one is still my favorite. Then we've got Alien Covenant, directed by Ridley Scott, and starring Billy Crudup, Danny McBride, Catherine Waterston, and again, in an incredible performance, Michael Fassbender, who plays two characters in this movie. Michael Fassbender, like in Prometheus, is probably the best thing about this movie, although I do enjoy this movie more than Prometheus, because at least this movie kind of feels like an alien movie, and it's got a hell of a lot more action in it than Prometheus did. Not to mention that even though the people in this movie make some really stupid, questionable decisions, they're nowhere near as dumb as the people in Prometheus. So, yeah, I like this movie. I don't love it, but I love this one. War for the Planet of the Apes. The third and final installment in the Caesar trilogy, directed by Matt Reeves, and starring Woody Harrelson, Andy Serkis as Caesar, and Steve Zahn as Bad Ape. Absolutely love this movie. In my ranking of all the Planet of the Apes movies, this one came in at number 4. However, like I said, absolutely, absolutely love this film. And this one completely blew me away, and I was shocked how much. Blade Runner 2049, starring Harrison Ford, Ryan Gosling, and Jared Leto. Directed by Denis Villeneuve. I thought that Denis Villeneuve, I knew he was an incredible director, but I thought what balls it takes to try to direct a sequel to a film that was not a hit at the time, but has become so beloved and is so visionary by so many. Here comes some blasphemy for you guys. I prefer this movie. I do. This movie is great. I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. Unlike the original, when I saw the original, it took me years to warm up to it. This one, I loved it from the get-go. Again, I love both films. Don't get me wrong. I love Blade Runner, okay? I just prefer watching this one. Okay, now we're into horror. And from my Saw collection, for the last time, Jigsaw. Jigsaw is a piece of shit. We'll leave it at that. Then we have two films that are very, very similar in plot, but they are not rip-offs of one another. The first one is called The Belko Experiment. This one stars John Gallagher Jr., Tony Goldwyn, John McGinley, Michael Rooker. Great cast in this one. This one was written by James Gunn, and it was directed by Greg McLean. Is that his name? Yeah, Greg McLean, who also directed Wolf Creek. This is a fun movie. It's a lot of fun. These people work in an office building and down in Central America, and all at once, one day, all of the windows get sealed up, and a voice comes over the intercom saying, "Hello, there are 100 people in this building. In the next hour, 50 of them must be dead, or you will all die." And then it just gets crazier from there. This is a wild movie. I highly recommend it. And then we have Mayhem. Written and directed by Joe Lynch and starring Stephen Yeun and Samara Weaving. Again, people trapped in an office building, but in this case, there is a virus that is going on that makes people lose their inhibitions. Some people get violent. Some people have sex. Some people get in the corner and start crying uncontrollably, and it lasts 24 hours. And this movie is crazy. This one is more of a comedy than a horror movie, although it does get very graphic. Great, great film. Makes a great double feature with The Belko Experiment. So, again, if you've never seen Mayhem, check it out. And then the most surprising horror movie that year, without a doubt. From my Jordan Peele 3-movie collection, we're talking about Get Out. Written and directed by Jordan Peele, and starring Daniel Kaluuya. I'm sorry. He is an incredible actor. He is incredible in this performance. Oh my God, is he good in this movie. Also starring Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, and Catherine Keener. Jordan Peele was mainly known for the sketch comedy show Key and Peele with his partner, Keegan Key. And when I heard that he was making a horror film, and a original horror film, it baffled me. I couldn't even picture that. I was like thinking that would be like Judd Apatow making a horror film, or Mel Brooks even, you know. My God, this movie's great. It is got some very funny moments in it, but my God, Get Out is a great film. And not only that, it was nominated for Oscars, and Jordan Peele won Best Original Screenplay for this film. Get Out is an incredible film. But we're ending on this one. It. Chapter 1. Based on the best-selling novel by Stephen King, of course. directed by Andy Muschietti, and starring an ensemble cast of children who all put in incredible performances, and Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. The original miniseries of it is iconic, and Tim Curry is iconic in that role as Pennywise, and that miniseries traumatized an entire generation of kids. And when I heard that they were finally making a movie out of it, no, meaning the movie, not it, I had reservations. But I saw that original trailer, and yeah, I was intrigued like all those other people, and I went and saw this movie immediately. And my God, it's one of the best Stephen King adaptations ever. And it's the most financially successful R-rated horror movie in history. This movie made bank. So much that It Chapter 2 was immediately greenlit. And that came out a couple of years later. We'll get to that one when we get to it. But this movie, it's incredible. Mainly because of those performances from that cast. I generally are hit and miss when it comes to children actors. Nothing against kids. I love kids, okay? But some of them just can't act. Every kid in this movie brings it. And they are all fantastic. As is Bill Skarsgård. His take on Pennywise is completely different than Tim Curry's. But it works. This movie's great. And it's a great way to end 2017. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, leave those comments below. And we'll see you on the next one.